Hello, and welcome to Two Dads, One Show. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm Tim.
I'm Grant.
We're the two dads, and this is the show. Hello, and we are so glad you made it back. So glad to have you again. Hope you're enjoying everything that's going on. This is episode 4 of Two Dads, One Show. Grant, how are you, man?
Good. I will say before we jump in this episode, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with my children, if you're okay with that.
Air it out.
Man, crazy work week, but that has nothing to do with this. And last night, our youngest, we've been giving her like the humidifier and the Vapo Rub stuff, and she just has this cough that in the middle of the night just comes on and just goes and goes. And last night, I don't know, went to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock, whatever time it was. And at like 11:30 was coughing for like an hour.
Ooh.
An hour straight. And I was just, you feel bad, but there's literally nothing you can do. I mean, you've done everything that you can do. And Charity and I were just laying there and we're like, this is just, it's that maddening. It's like on a cadence, like cough, cough, and then like rest, cough, rest. And I'm just like, I'm starting to lose it. Like, it's really like not good. And it was for like an hour. And I was like, all right, I got to get some sleep. Like, this is crazy. And I ended up waking up at 4 a.m. and could not go back to sleep.
Oh man, never good.
I'm running on like nothing right now. Like I got just a little bit in me for this wonderful podcast that we have. But
pure adrenaline at this point.
It is pure adrenaline. I had 1 cup of coffee today. I couldn't even get a second cup.
Jeez, wow.
I hope you can feel the fire in me right now.
Man, I certainly appreciate it. And it's funny when you say you feel bad for them, but it's like after a while, it's like, okay, we get it. We're so annoyed. Please stop coughing. Mm-hmm. Like really, still. It's getting so old.
I feel so bad, but it's like you can't do anything.
You can't.
There aren't baby like cough drops. I mean, like there's nothing you can do. And I was just like, I can't take it. Like it's like someone's dropping water, just like a drop of water on your head.
Yeah.
And it just like you can't, like you got that skin, like you're crawling in your own skin, and it's just So sorry to rant, but I just had to get that out there.
Yeah. Amen.
Yes.
Absolutely. Hey, and if you're listening and you have any remedies that you know to stop a baby cough, we'd love to hear them. Let us know.
I want to know. Like, please give me whatever you have. Like, whatever wives' tales that are out there or whatever. Let me know. Please.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So, my friend, what are we talking about today?
Pregnancy is not for the faint of heart.
Oof.
And it's all the things that I know we've talked about, like, oh, what did you think about parenting before you became a parent and whatever, but this is like, you truly don't know what's going to happen when your partner is pregnant or when you guys are expecting a kid. You just don't know. And some things may seem pretty obvious and other things are not. So I will ask you, sir, what is something that pops out to you that was like you were not maybe expecting or anticipating?
It's such a loaded question. We'll go into all of it, but I think for the first time especially, you just know that kind of what you've seen, at least in my case, I was the youngest, so I didn't see my mom pregnant at all. So it's just kind of from movies and TV shows, you just know that this baby's growing in them and it's going to be hard and you're probably going to have to make late night food runs, just kind of like the stereotypical, duties as the father of this child that is baking in their bellies. But it literally is changing their bodies completely as well. Literally every bit of life is from that moment is changed. So looking back, I would have played it completely different. Would be so much more well equipped, and for our next one, will be. But that first time, I just don't realize, how the the mother's body is changing, and the emotions, physically, I guess, exterior and interior, all the changes that they're going through. And it's a lot. And it didn't even really cross my mind that some of these things would be happening.
Like what specifically? Like what is something that you were just like, oh man, okay, so that's gonna happen.
Yeah, just emotional things,
Yeah,
things are, triggered and more sensitive and really both ways. Sometimes, you know, way less sensitive and more stronger heat coming from them, if that makes sense.
hmm,
Just kind of like angry, probably, due to all the pain that they're in
sure,
at times. Um, but yeah, and the biggest thing that I really wasn't aware of is their mindset. You know what I mean? Their body's changing, they're growing. There's two lives there now. And I didn't really take into consideration how that might be making them feel. Their,
hmm,
appearance is changing. Um, you know, it's a different world for them completely.
for sure.
And my main thought was like, "Are you hungry? Are you okay? Like, what can I get you to eat?" And that's like one of the many things that will go into that.
Yeah, I think yes, I because it's definitely the things that you learn from like movies, right? And
Yeah,
movies
for sure.
are like
Hmm.
the worst teachers for a lot of
Yes.
things, and definitely pregnancy is one of them. And how
Hmm.
that you uh, kind of play that minefield that is being the partner of someone who's being pregnant. And
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think Charity was terrible by any stretch. Like I don't think that there was anything that she was. I look back on it now, I'm like, wow, like we survived it, cool. But I
Yeah.
hate you now. Like
Hmm.
that was never a thing.
Right.
Like I was more kind of for me surprised on how much I would, I guess in general, do this the de facto like sympathy thing. Like
Yeah.
I'll go like the first thing uh, is I gained weight. I gained more weight than she did during the pregnancy. I most certainly did, and it was stress. Like I was stressed out, right? It wasn't just like, oh hey, you want to eat something? Great, I'll eat something too, and we'll just eat together and be this. I was a mess because I was like, I don't know, like I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know if I can get to the baby part. Like right now, I don't even know if I can if I'm doing everything right by you, the pregnant woman. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm doing everything okay. And if you're I don't know what's going on in your head. Like I don't mean that in a bad way of like
Hmm.
she's crazy. I just meant like I know that you're going through a lot and you're probably not trying to freak me out. So I'm overthinking what you're thinking. It was just a whole thing. And I'm like, I'm just gonna eat myself. Like I'm just gonna eat and eat and eat. And I did. I gained more weight than she did for sure. And I look
Wow.
back on pictures and I'm like, whoo boy.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely happened. And like the movie thing, going back to how bad of a teacher it is. I mean, the one thing I knew and completely turned out to be false, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna have pickles ready. Like I remember, oh, I got pickles, and she's like, I don't want pickles. And then my mind was like, wait. They sat there for 9 months. She never wanted pickles.
But it's so funny because Charity did. So I was good with that 'cause she had pickles
Interesting.
all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not a pickle guy, but she was all about it. So I was like, let's buy some pickles. Sure.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Interesting. And the one thing too, after our second, the two pregnancies were very different between my oldest son and our younger daughter. A lot more morning sickness. A lot. Feel like it was a little bit more of a struggle with our daughter. And so interesting that it's not like a pregnant and this is how it's going to go every single time,
Yeah.
like a set of rules that it's check marks that it hits. It's completely different from child to child.
Oh yeah. I think the biggest thing that I could see on a daily basis, and I didn't know it. I didn't really. I don't know the medical terminology of it, but with our first, we could feel kicks and all that stuff super early, right?
Mm.
But it was really late for our youngest, and I didn't. Finally, we asked the doctor. I'm like, I don't, because Charity could feel her, and I really couldn't. She's like, well, what
Mm.
is this? And they're like, oh, well, your placenta is backwards basically. So instead of it resting against her insides, it was resting on the outside of her belly, so like the piece that we could feel. And so it's like
Wow.
you're never going to feel her because she's behind this big wall of tissue basically. And it's one of those things where I was like, oh, I'm kind of losing out on like
Wow.
a piece of that because I can't really feel her. So
Yeah.
like I could visually see that, Charity was growing and all those things, but
Yeah.
I didn't have the same kind of pre-birth connection, if that makes sense.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, I had never heard of that before. She was like a little hide and seek champ in there.
Yeah, it was something really weird because even on like ultrasounds and stuff, it kind of made things not harder, but it was definitely I don't know, just it was a different kind of situation.
Wow.
I don't know. Yeah, it was weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Two dads, one show, always learning new things. Science.
Science, yo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So I guess maybe this is embarrassing for some people. Maybe I don't know, but for me, I think the biggest change was I'm emotional, anyways, like in general.
Hmm.
But man, when Charity got pregnant, I was uber emotional,
Were
like
you really?
ridiculous.
Like noticeably more?
Yes, I mean,
Wow.
you see the jokes in TV shows and movies and
Hmm.
whatnot, where it's like, oh, I'm crying at a TV commercial. It wouldn't even take a full TV commercial. It really wouldn't. It would take like an ad on a YouTube video, and I
Wow.
was like, this is too much. Like, and then I would be sitting there, by myself thinking about like the future and like what is this kid going to look like, and are we going to be able to be, the father daughter you always want to be, all that stuff, and then that would make you emotional. I'm like, I don't know, like I need to go run or something because I don't understand
Oh,
why
yeah. Yeah.
like I'm this, and I'm fine. Like I have no problem crying in front of people or whatever
Hmm.
if it happens, but I just was taken aback by how much it was just there. And I was like, all right, like it's cool. It
Wow.
hasn't, and it
Very
hasn't really
interesting.
gone. It hasn't really gone. It's dissipated since they've both been born. But I'm most certainly more emotional now than I
Yeah,
was
for sure.
before.
Yeah, same. I think it softens you up for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. What
There's
so
no doubt about that.
do you have? Like I know you had mentioned like the food thing. Was there like a
Mhm.
specific memory that you have of that? Was like that? Is that why it stuck with you?
Yeah, so again, when it's the first, I didn't know what I was doing. And then maybe that's part of the adventure. But I would try to do my best, again, back to food because that's what I thought. You're pregnant, you've got to always be hungry.
Yeah.
So I remember stopping on the way home from work and bringing food. It was about dinner time, and thought that I was gonna be celebrated when I got home. Like, oh my God, you know, he gets it. He's so good to me while I'm pregnant, and it was something not really healthy. Um, and I walked in like kind of holding up the bags, like kind of with like a smile, like, hey, like look what I did. And it was kind of like the look back was like, are you kidding me? How, like, I mean, instantly, I put the bags down at my side and went like, oh, this is not how this was supposed to go. And it kind of gave a look like, what's going on? And she goes, seriously? You would bring that in here right now? And I was like,
Oh.
I thought you'd be hungry. I'm so sorry. And it was kind of like, okay, you know what I'm going through. Basically I'm changing, I'm gaining a little bit of weight. You would bring that in here right now? And I was like, I'm so sorry. I just thought you'd like this. And it was kind of like, I didn't anticipate that. And you just kind of have to expect to be wrong.
Mhm.
And not to be crass or anything, but really, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know any other way to put it. Their emotions are all over the place
Mhm.
anyway, and you just kind of have to roll with the punches. So I was like, I'm so sorry. And then like 15 or 20 minutes later, she's like, just go get me Taco Bell. Something that was like considerably less healthy than the not so healthy option I put in at first. And I remember going, yep, absolutely. But it was just kind of like what she needed.
Yeah.
And you just kind of got to be prepared um, to roll with it and to not be offended, certainly, and just basically do what you're told.
Oh, for sure. Like I think kind of heading down the food track. I mean, I wasn't anticipating. Charity wasn't anticipating this either, having gestational diabetes, right? And I, me being obviously, as I just said, a stress eater, and then Charity gets GD, and it's like, this changes things immensely.
Interesting.
Like
So let me
crazy.
ask you, what were there signs, or how was that diagnosed? What happened?
So it's anytime that there's a pregnancy, like I don't know the exact amount of weeks. I think it's 20 weeks or 22 weeks, whatever it is. You go in, everybody goes in for a glucose test, and so there's like a stage 1 where you have to. I think it's like drink this bottle of just straight sugar syrup.
I remember that stuff. Yeah.
Right. And then you have to wait like an hour. And then after that hour, if they'll test your blood sugars and then see where you're at. And then if you're not good, then you have to do like a 3-hour one. That's like, oh, here, drink like 2 more of these things. Or I don't remember exactly what it was, but failed. And pretty badly failed.
Wow.
Which is, I mean, it happens. I mean,
Yeah.
we were talking because then we had to go to a nutritionist, and we're like, so what did we do wrong? Like, did we do anything wrong to do this? And the nutritionist was like, there is nothing different you could have done to make the outcome anything different. Like, it is what it is. Some women get it, some women don't, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. And that wasn't the best thing to hear, because you always wanted to be like fixing it. Like, yeah, cool,
Sure.
we can fix it and try harder. And there wasn't even it was so bad, like failed so miserably, that they didn't even go to medication. They went straight to, or they were threatening just going straight to medication.
Wow.
And I was like, I would prefer, like, we were both like, let's not just go straight to medication. Like, let's do, see if we can handle it through diet first.
Yeah.
And they were good. They were like, okay, yeah, let's try that. And, we were able to do it. Charity was a champ, and really stuck by and had to do the finger pricks like 5 times a day or something.
Wow.
And had to keep like a notebook and every meal and what she ate. And it was just very detailed, and had to take it to our OB every time we went in there. And it was just a whole thing. And
Wow.
that was definitely not expected,
Yeah, I bet. So
yeah.
let me just chime in, because I think you hit on something that is really important to anyone listening, or anyone that may encounter that. I think it's kind of what you guys did. Your response was like, well, what could we have done, when it was just kind of like, it's not nothing, like, it's not your fault. You know what I mean? There's not, just kind of like a freak thing. So, like, not something to be, guilty of, or like you could have prevented it. So I think that's huge, of knowing, you didn't bring this upon yourself, so to speak. You know what I mean?
For sure. And I think that's a great point that you pointed out, that like you can do quote unquote everything right. And there's still going to be things that pop up, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
And there could be a multitude of different things when there's a pregnancy, or just normal life, right? Like, it just, health is just, you can do all the right things and still have something happen. So,
True.
So you can't like get down on yourself. I mean, there's definitely like a little bit of like, man, like, this changes a lot of things. And, but it was fine when you get in a groove and you're like, okay, this is what we got to do. Okay, this is what we can do, and let's do it. Like,
Right.
For the health of Charity and for the health of the baby. Like, there's not really a lot of.
Of course. Yeah, exactly. What wouldn't you have done, right?
Yeah. So it was definitely a good experience, because now, like, we talked about it the other day. I'm like, remember how we had like mass make eggs so that every morning you could come up and have just eggs and bacon, and because you can't, it's all about the protein, right? You can't have the carbs. And it's just funny to look back on it now. Not funny, but it's just interesting to look back on it now.
Yeah. Interesting. So this is probably a silly question, and I know the answer, so I'm not asking for myself, of course. So once the baby's delivered, is that the end of the GD?
Um, yes and no.
Okay.
So most cases, yes, but you have to be tested. So I think it was 6 weeks later, she had to go in and do another test to make sure that she still wasn't, diabetic or she still didn't have GD. And then she had to check after a year.
Oh, wow.
But then when she got it the second time with our second daughter, they basically were like, you need to be checked like every year now. Like you
No
have to be
kidding.
checked because it can change at any time. Like they're like
Hmm.
it's, and if we go to have a third one, we have to anticipate that she's going to have it again. And
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah,
yeah,
does it make you more prone to it or anything like that, or is it just better get checked?
it makes you more prone to it. Like if you
Okay.
have it once, they're like you're probably going to have it again.
Mm.
But they said the more times you are pregnant and you have it, the more chances that you're going to have it forever.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
so that was like, oh, okay, like that's awesome.
Wow.
And it's not. I mean, it's not a something that you can't live with or anything like that. It's just
Yeah,
you just don't know
right.
long term what that's gonna like how that's gonna be if it's gonna pass on to the baby because it could like it
Yeah,
could pass
for
on.
sure. But
So it's a
yeah,
whole
and
thing. Yeah.
especially when you're just thinking like, oh, we got pregnant, we're gonna have a baby. I mean, that's that was probably nowhere on the radar at all, thinking that
No,
you would encounter something like that.
I didn't know it was a thing. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
crazy,
I
man.
didn't know that was a possibility. So
Wow.
you just learn and roll with it, and like anything. Now that you got kids,
Yeah,
you got to roll with anything.
exactly. Yeah, it's probably a nice warm up for uh, being adjustable in the future.
Yep, most certainly.
And I do call it GD if you know what I'm saying there.
I do. Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you.
So I will preface this next thing by saying I did pass this by, or have to say this to the wife before
Mhm.
bringing this up because it is a little on the
Yeah.
touchy side.
Yeah.
Not touchy, but um, I will say that there was uh, guilt involved, or felt
Mm.
guilty when you want to be intimate during pregnancy time.
You are still a man.
It's true.
As as emotionally frail as you were still a man.
And it was, thank you. I'm a sobbing boy in the corner, still wanting to be intimate with my wife. No, but it was definitely like like you feel bad because like you're still attracted to your wife, or at
Oh,
least I was still attracted to my wife and still wanted to be like show my appreciation and affection and everything, but she was carrying our
show your
child.
appreciation.
Yeah, she's carrying our baby. Like I can't do that. I'm not a seahorse. Like,
Oh,
and
beautiful.
it was just like I don't want to ask the question. Like, how do
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
was just so awkward because I didn't, you don't want to do the wrong thing and it's a
Sure.
whole thing. And yeah, uh, it was just an interesting time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean it's so true. We're still men. We still have those desires, if you will. And I think part of kind of realizing later is sometimes pursuing that. And you don't want to do it all the time. They are growing a baby for you, like you said. But sometimes pursuing that at the time, it sometimes can be counterintuitive, but at the time, sometimes may help their self-image, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. You know what I mean? They still feel desirable and their body's changing, but knowing that you're still all about them,
Hmm.
I think sometimes it's a very good thing.
So, and that's good you bring that up because I was going to put a second part to this. So, after the initial kind of awkwardness of the first few months of like, I don't know
Hmm.
what to do here, like we had a very frank conversation, and Charity's like, I still want to, but I don't
Hmm.
know if you would want to because of kind of
Right.
the changing. And
Yeah.
it's almost like you're both worried about the same thing, but like for her, I totally understand. Like, I can't
Yeah.
even imagine the emotions and the thoughts going through of like I'm growing a baby and I'm changing all these different ways. Is my
Hmm.
partner still going to be attracted to me? And
Yeah.
I think it goes back to kind of a lot of things. It's just communication, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly right.
really what it comes down to. And yeah. Okay, good sir. Now that we've gotten to this point of the episode, is there anything that stands out to you from this week? Either you learned something, you observed something, just anything that popped out.
Yes, indeed. So, being a semi-world class athlete myself, I've passed these very athletic genes to my children. That's not true, but my kids are very athletic. And so I was at the park this week with my youngest, who is 5, and she did the monkey bars back and forth. I'm not kidding. We have video 4 times. Went
Wow.
there, went back, and it was just crazy. Like my mind was blown. So I sent the video to my family and, showed everybody. And she was so pumped about it, to see me brag on her of like, watch
Mm-hmm.
this, you're not going to believe this. Like it lit her up. And so like noticing that, I went, oh man, that, you can tell it was like building her confidence and she loved it. And so son had a basketball game on Saturday and kind of did the same thing. And it was like the exact same reaction, letting them hear you tell other people how great they are.
Yeah.
And this is not limited to children. So partners or your workers or your spouse or your friends, it makes people feel really, really good to know that you think that about them and to have them hear you say that to another person about them. Give it a try. I think you will like the results.
Oh, I like that. That's really good. No, that's a
Thank you.
good one. I think uh, our oldest this week has been a little on the angry side,
Mm,
and it has really been a test of patience so far. I mean, I think ultimately it comes down to I think I'm learning that these girls are very in tune to our emotions, right? So
mm,
we have a lot going on just in work for my wife and I this week, and it just so happens that we're both having a crazy week, and hasn't really happened ever before, and so they can feel that we're both stressed, and because you want to do a good job at what you're doing, and
yeah,
I think it's made her just more like is taking that emotion on herself. And
oh,
it's just like, yeah, that's not like she's not even 4 yet. Like she'll be 4 in a
yeah,
few weeks, and it's you don't want that for your kids before it's time.
for sure.
You'd never want anybody to be stressed, but you just realizing that emotions really do pass to other people and pass to animals and all those things, and it's trying
Yeah.
to even if you don't necessarily feel it in the moment, but still, like what you said, give encouraging words and try and
Hmm.
change the tone in what you're saying, and walk away sometimes. It's really hard for me to get like right now. Our daughter says, "I don't like you" a lot because
Hmm.
she doesn't have the vocabulary to know what, like she just doesn't have it yet.
Yeah,
So that's tough to hear and to know that it's not real. Like of course she still likes us and of course she still loves us, but to kind of walk away and say it's not real. She's just having a
right.
moment,
Yeah.
and try and come back and not try and match that,
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that's good. It's important.
just trying to just listen to it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, because you're right, man. You adore this child, to the ends of the. I mean, yeah. So it still hurts. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like a knife in the heart to hear him say something like that. Um, yeah, but yeah, totally true, and such a good point to realize. Obviously they don't know what they're saying. They
Yeah,
don't mean that. Um, and yeah, some real emotional maturity on your part.
I'm trying.
Nicely done.
I'm
Nicely
trying.
done.
I'll get there one day. One day my emotions will match my age. Well, I think that's the end of another successful episode, I would say. Um,
Powerful stuff.
Very powerful stuff. Thank you, listeners, for dropping by again. This has been it's been a weird kind of experience, letting our lives out for public consumption. But I think just feedback that we've heard so far is it seems to to be helping people, which is good.
Right.
So we're gonna do the uncomfortable things sometimes and share things that maybe we wouldn't have, but it's for the betterment of others, hopefully. So thank you for coming, and thank you for dropping the comments that you guys had on the Instagram page, which is Two Dads One Show podcast. So
love the feedback.
Or send us an email if you don't want to do it in a public forum at twodads1show@outlook.com. And as always, visit our website for any updates, which is twodads1show.com. And thank you, and we'll see you next time.